following was recorded at Open Stage Media's podcast studio in Schenectady, New York.
Hey, good morning. We are in Schenectady at the Podcast Center. We're being pushed live here with Open Stage Media. Thank you guys for always being here for us. We love you. This is episode 29.
Yeah.
So we have a big turning point next time we see each other. I don't know what the big 3-0 will be. We'll keep that a secret. At least for me, I won't know.
We might know next week.
Yeah, so I'm excited today. We have a real estate agent guest here. Maurice is from the shadows back up front,
Which we love.
We love. It doesn't happen enough. It doesn't happen.
Sometimes
enough.
I gotta fill a seat. That's all.
But he's got his name on his shirt, so no one can forget, guys. I'm gonna pass it off to Jerry to take the second half of our intro over.
Yep. I'm Jerry, usual guest, usual host.
Usual host.
But our guest today is Samuel Thompson.
Yes, hello.
You know what's funny? I always I thought Diagram was the owner of that brokerage, but it's you.
Yeah,
Some things like that.
Huh?
Kind of
No,
a-
I'm just.
I mean,
because
he's
I know
the-
that
he's a big producer.
he's a big person
Yeah,
in the area.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I never connected the face to the name, but
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to be meeting you today.
yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, if you can introduce yourself for the audience.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Sam Thompson. I'm the broker and owner of Thompson Real Estate Team. My office is right next to City Hall. I've been in the Capital Region for probably 12 years or so. Been doing real estate for about 10. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And
Nice.
then you have a team. There's
Yes.
also some family members also. in the
Yeah,
business.
yeah. I have a real estate team. We just had a couple people leave. I think maybe we're like a total of like 9 people. My mom's on the team with me. So I like what I do, and it's been just a great journey so far. So I really enjoy doing real estate, and yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was life like before real estate for Sam?
Yeah. Great question. So I went to college in Montreal, Concordia University. I got my bachelor's there in political science and philosophy. And then I moved home, kind of did the boomerang thing, moved back in with my mom in Delmar. And I started working at a deli, McCarroll's Butcher in Delmar. So that's where I started. And then I just decided to get my real estate license. And as a matter of fact, I went to Manfred Real Estate School. Oh, okay, stop doing that. And Kareem Jondali was one of the teachers there. And so, he taught a class, and he mentioned that when he started in real estate, he started in property management. And I thought that was a great way to start because I was a young guy, new to the area, didn't have any connections. And I connected with Chris Madelone with Madelone & Associates Property Management.
Oh, yeah.
He's also like the principal of Hudson Partners Development. So him and Seth Meltzer were kind of where I got my start, and I was doing leasing for them. So I was leasing for a property management company, kind of getting my feet wet. Had a couple great mentors there, ended up owning a few rental properties, and did that, and then decided to start my real estate brokerage. And so I've been doing the brokerage I've had now for about 6 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
No one ever wants no one ever starts with saying, let me get into real estate.
Yeah.
It always like a path that you just fall into.
Yeah.
The same for me too. I went to Manfred in 2020.
Okay.
Kareem was also my instructor.
Yeah.
So we have that in common.
Yeah.
And long story short, the rest is history. I've been doing it 5. I'm not up to your level yet.
Yep.
But
Yep.
getting there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's funny. It was always kind of in the back of my head. Like I always had some sort of affinity for real estate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I ended up getting my license and just have kept going with it. So
There you go.
yeah.
It's always good to know like what people's path is to get into this industry in general, especially because there's so many different nuanced careers you could have.
For sure.
Because you started with like the property management, and then now you're a broker.
Yep.
So you can be a broker, you can be an agent, property manager. What other kinds of careers in real estate do you guys think don't really get a lot of shine on them?
Well, I mean, there's not just buy, sell, and hold. There's also all the services that touch it. There's specialty tax people. There's people that may advise you, hey, let's sell this, refinance that one, and buy 2 more. You have specific people that set up 1031 exchanges. Say, hey, let's sell these 2-3 families that you have in Schenectady and pick up this 23 unit on State Street. That would be there's you have the physical things you can touch, and then you have all the non-physical things that go with it, right? Management you don't touch, but it handles directly to the things you can touch. The unfortunate toilet that flows over or when you're lucky to get to put in a new kitchen or something like that, that becomes
Plumbing,
physical, but it starts in a non-physical way.
Yeah, one of my big motivations when I was getting started was investing in real estate. So I was just like really into focusing on that. And so I started in property management, and I saw kind of that side of the business, and then ended up doing some investing of like small multifamily buildings. And I've had, friends and associates that have done really, really well with that. And, it works for them. They like being landlords. It's a great way to invest and make money. But I don't necessarily think it was really fitted to my personality. So I did it for a while. I did okay. I didn't like lose my shirt, which was a good thing. But yeah, I kind of got out of that. It just wasn't a great fit for me, and I ended up just strictly focusing on sales, which is what I'm doing now. So
I want to jump a question to what you just said.
Yeah.
Do you still own those rental properties that you bought early on?
No, I sold those. Yeah. So in fact, the first one I did, it was the owner finance deal.
Sure.
So it was a building that like basically everybody has owned in Schenectady. I've come to realize it's 1054 University Place. It's a 6-unit building. And anyways, so I bought that. I owner financed that deal. I had to borrow like $3,500 from my mom to do it. And so that was my first one. And I was young, I was like 24 or something, 25.
You still look young.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. My gray hair is starting to come through. But anyways, so I bought that, ended up selling it. I made like 30 grand. And at that time, that was right when I started my business. So it was really nice to just have that.
10 years ago, 30 grand was a huge number.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, I bought that building. I owner financed that in like, let's say 2014 for like $135,000 or something.
You're talking about
right? 6 unit.
Yeah.
And then I sold it for 160, and I thought I was like King Kong, and yeah, so that, now the building's worth, 6 unit on University, you could probably tell, but
yeah. I want to ask based on, so you got rid of those 3. You had 3?
Well, I had 1054 University Place. I did a 4-unit in Amsterdam, 113 Guy Park Ave, and I did a 2-family and a 3-family in Troy, in South Troy on 276 3rd Street, and that was my first like burr. So that one we borrowed the money, and then we refinanced, paid back the investor. So yeah.
So we talked about we just hit creative financing. We talked about one of the strategies to buy, rehab, and hold property and refinance on the way out. If you could advise, if you would have no clue where the market was going, but if you said, look, I'm sick and tired of dealing with people, good, bad, ugly, all the best and worst. If you put that under property management and could sell them today, you'd be pretty close to retirement.
Say that one more time.
You said
yes.
You don't like the hassle of being a
Yes.
landlord, and I want to get the point. The reason I want to bring this up, there are plenty of really good property managers in the area.
Yep.
Which is one of those tangible, non-tangible things you pay for, right?
Sure.
And if you had, say, decided that you don't want the hassle, you could put that on property management. It would definitely affect your cash flow.
Exactly.
But it would not in any way have affected your equity growth over 11 years.
Right. And I would be in a great position.
Yeah.
So to your point, if I had given those to a property manager and just held on, even lost a little bit of money on the way, those properties are worth way more. So the longer term holding, at that point in time could have gotten me a bigger return for sure. I think the mindset shift for me was, you're a young guy, you're looking at your bank account with not a lot of money in it, and you're thinking about cash flow, and you're like, how much money can I make every month by owning these properties? But so that's when you're in that position, that's the way you look at things and the way you look at life. But when you have a little bit of more money in the bank and you can hold on and even take some losses month after month or whatever, long-term holding can be way more advantageous.
Yeah, so I'm glad we brought that up because we had someone on episode 4. We had Jason George here, and he said that people buy in Saratoga not for cash flow. He literally said people have negative cash flow, but they know in 10 years it's going to double its value again. So you go from a $1 million 2-family to a $2 million 2-family. So for everyone out there, there's 100 ways to buy property and make money on it. So ask your real estate agent, ask for that advice, and we come from experience.
Yep.
But I don't want to hold on to that too long because I know we're here for something special.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like in New York City to that point too is just like equity play, right? You're not going to make money on cash flow. You're probably going to have a loss, but it's more of a long term.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. hitting more on that short-term mindset you had when you were younger.
Yep.
And then having to sell. Do you regret doing that, knowing what you know now?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
not at all, because I really got to kind of cut my teeth on those properties. I mean, one of the biggest things I learned there was just getting your hands dirty and doing a lot of maintenance stuff. And like, you know, I was a homeowner at a younger age, you know, maybe comparatively, and I didn't want to pay for a plumber to go fix a problem. I didn't want to pay for somebody to go. So I got to learn a lot of that stuff, and it helped me because it made me realize that a lot of the issues you deal with on a house boil down to nails, wood, materials.
Yeah.
I mean, and people can see this stuff and they can like freak out, you know, particularly like inexperienced first-time home buyers, that type of thing. But, you know, when you get to have that experience to try to fix some of those problems on your own to save money, you know, and you've got ownership of that whole process was really good for me. So I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Especially when you're speaking on like what holds someone back from jumping into something like that. It is the maintenance part of it that people think the cash flow is so important or the equity play is very important, but maintaining that home is going to be you, or you're going to be paying someone to do that.
Yeah.
Right, David?
Absolutely. I actually when I worked for a property manager, I don't want to talk about that too much. I got really good at replacing toilet flaps because to buy a new toilet's $100, but you're
Yeah.
paying someone to go pick it up, remove the old,
Yep.
throw, you know, and whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's a $12 toilet flapper.
Yeah.
And you can do that by shutting the water off, drink, you know, flush it manually, put it in, and you're 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it'll, you know, it may not be the same brand. It's going to be, you know, some fits all purpose. But if you get 5 years for $12, good for you, man.
Yeah,
Rocking it.
That's a home run.
You're talking about a fill valve. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, so
I was thinking
yeah,
a toilet seat. I was
well,
thinking
so
flapper.
Well, no, not the toilet seat. But that's funny. Yeah. So sometimes it's a cone. It doesn't sit flat right, or you know, it's worn out, or the change is whipped.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
replace that thing. It's like $12.
Yeah.
It's orange. You go to any hardware store in the world.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
done.
100%.
Yeah.
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 And when someone like, heaven forbid, a door gets kicked in, you know, you take one of those oscillating saws and you cut the wood out and you put a new glue and screw in, and
Oh yeah.
it's like an hour.
All of
So-
that.
So you pay, so you charge yourself. You say, what's my time worth? $45 an hour. It's not bad,
Sure.
but you just saved 5 or 6 hours in a $200 door or
Yep.
$300 door today now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was for sure really nervous about that decision. Like, I remember the guy that was selling the building to me, he kind of gave me a deadline. He was like, you need to make a decision by tomorrow. And I was like, it felt like, you know,
It's a
like
bit
when you're a
aggressive.
kid, like the night before Christmas, and you're just like, oh my God, and what am I going to do? And I was listening to Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure.
And they were just like, take risks when you're young, just do it. And
Yeah.
then I did it, and, you know, it ended up being all right. So,
Yeah.
So I would say, what's like one of the key things that you learned at that time that you would impart that kind of advice on for any other younger first-time home buyer thinking about getting an investment as maybe their career strategy?
yeah, I mean, I would say basically just do it. I mean, you know how to analyze the building. You know how to, you know, figure out what your rent's going to be. If you can get a home inspection, get a home inspection so you at least know, you know, do your due diligence so you know what issues you may be facing, calculate what the costs are. So for sure, do all your math. Like, don't be, you know, just wild about it, but like take the risk. That would be the big thing. Take the risk and, you know, just have some trust in yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on take the risk, on jumping off that diving board, there's a lot of clients that want the perfect property that cash flows one penny higher than the other. And I look back at the people that didn't buy 4 years ago that you know, they just weren't compelled enough. And I feel like I did a huge disservice by not like pushing hard, because they would have $100,000 in equity today plus cash flow.
Sure.
And the issue 4 years ago was $50 cash flow a month. And you look at that and you're like, is $50 the difference between jumping in today and having 4 years of equity growth versus not? And $50 a month held up, what's that? $2,500 over 4 years, but $100,000 equity walked out the door from a lack of seizing the opportunity.
Sure.
So I'm not saying buy dangerous, junky things that you can't handle, but understand that perfection doesn't exist. You know, we can get real good, but if it fits your situation and it makes sense, you can sleep on it. You know, just do it. You know, so to echo that.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And then the other thing too is I feel like a lot of people, they think about, you know, if they're putting money into their house, they're losing money, they're spending money, but the money is in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, you know, it's almost like putting it into a bank account. you know. So you have to kind of think of it that way a little bit too. Just like, you know, don't think that you're losing money by spending it on a house or not, you know, getting enough rental income from it. The value's in the property, and you can sell that, you know. So
You can sell that. You can borrow against it.
yeah.
You know, so there's a couple of things.
You can live in it.
Well, no, and
Yeah.
exactly, like that's one of the things.
It's
like
hard to live in a 401k.
exactly, that's such a good point. Like there's these different asset classes that you can't like the house. You can live in the house. Like that's a big deal, you know. Like that's so you have to really kind of try to think about it that way. And it can be hard for some people. And at the end of the day, I mean, those people, they didn't take that risk and they didn't get that reward. So like that's how it works. If everybody did it, you know, I mean, there wouldn't be that disparity between those that. I mean, it's just as much of a risk to rent a place. You think about the risk that you're taking, right?
You're
I mean,
speaking on behalf as a tenant.
sure,
Yeah.
or
If-
whatever. I mean, if
yeah.
you decide not to buy a house, that's a risk. Everything's a risk. So, you know, the reward that you're going to get is in correlation to the amount of risk that you take. That's the biggest thing. Got to take risks. So, and everything's a risk. You know.
Yeah.
Calculated risk, though.
Oh, well, I drove here
math
today,
first.
but I put
Right,
a seatbelt
right.
on. Right? So
Yeah.
there's risk, but there's also ways to mitigate risk. I talk about a big risk mitigation for me is number of units. If I have a 2-family I'm going to rent out and there's 4 bedroom, there's 2 4-bedroom apartments, or I can go to the 4 unit that's 4 2-bedrooms apartments. The more units you have, the bigger your diversified risk pool is. One tenant not paying in one is twice as damaging as one tenant not paying in the other. Right? So the engine can run on 1 cylinder down or possibly 2, but you know, the higher your unit count, the less risk across the spectrum you have. So if someone's looking for risk diversification, I try to push them towards more units.
Sure.
Yeah. The more maintenance you have too.
Yeah, I had this conversation the other day. I said, you need to get to work. You need a vehicle, right? You need a vehicle. You can go buy on Craigslist that $300 Honda that drinks 2 quarts of oil a day and smokes, but it will get you to work. Or you can go buy a brand new Audi. I guarantee the Audi is not going to need as much oil. I don't know if that's true, but I assume that they're nice. I never had one. Crossing fingers. Right? But they both serve the purpose of getting you to work.
Correct.
So does investment vehicles. You can go buy a brand new multifamily that's at Audi, but you're going to pay a lot more for it. So your risk to reward, way less risk, way less reward. Or you buy that junker that you don't have the money yet to patch the roof instead of replace the roof, but on your dollar spent, you're getting way back more. You're getting way more back. Oh my God, English is so hard, right?
We need another cup of coffee.
Yeah, maybe I've had one anyhow. But I feel like you have to balance based on your style. If you're super handy, you're willing to learn, go with the couple old cars that smoke and whatever, because you're able to fix it yourself, or you're willing and you put it into your ownership profile that you're going to have maintenance done, right? Or if you're saying, hey, I want to be an absentee landlord, I'm willing to spend a little more, but I don't want to ever touch these things. Transition to the more expensive ones.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Well, I think that's definitely important, especially for a lot of those first-time home buyers, and really just trying to learn some of the basic lessons to home ownership. I don't think it's even if you're not looking at something from an investment standpoint, being handy means it is there's one less person you have to pay, right? So I think just knowing some of those basic things. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say BCNI is putting together a program just for post-purchase.
Oh, that's
to
a good
help a lot
idea.
of people through those things too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're also in the world of post YouTube, right? I mean, you can read a book that was printed in '87 about fixing your '85 Honda, or you can hit YouTube and say, how do I replace this piece quickly? And there's 5 or 6 tricks you can go find. You might say replace a toilet when it's a flapper, right?
Yeah.
So there's so much, there's billions of hours of information on some of these websites that you can find, and it literally shows you. It says, first do this. Is that where the issue is?
Yeah,
It's-
exactly.
It's like a YouTube university.
Yeah.
Not a
YouTube
sponsor, by the way, not
University.
yet.
I guess, did you have something that?
Oh yeah, I want. So last week we had on Friday our fair housing luncheon as well, and I know you two couldn't make it, but Sam actually was there too. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you thought about the fair housing luncheon and the experience being there?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Is this like was this the second annual one? No, how many have you guys done?
No, we've been doing them for several years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
Several years.
It was the second one I went to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I think it was great. It was great to get a lot of different perspectives on what's happening in housing and fair housing and more broadly in housing. We had State Senator Fahey come in and speak. We had Representative Tonko there. We heard from, folks at the city. And then, we had community pillars talking about the issue. We then broke out into sort of like breakout groups. So I was with a group of real estate agents and brokers. We talked about the history of fair housing. And in the beginning, I think the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics was, or maybe I'm getting that wrong, but it was racist. In other words, they said no race mixing. That was part of what we were required to do as real estate professionals. So, some of that, those fair housing issues they're really important to keep talking about, and they're still prevalent today. In the group that I was in, people had experiences. I think everyone in that room had, experiences that they could talk about pertaining to fair housing, things that they heard people say, saw people do. And so, yeah, I mean, all in all, it was good to, one of the things I learned is that a lot of funding at the federal and state levels being cut for fair housing programs.
Yep.
And so I think it's important, if that's the case, that, communities are getting together and talking about the issue and helping hold people accountable, since some of those programs are, hurting for funding right now. So, yeah, overall, great experience.
Yeah, I think it's when money starts running out for different things, it becomes a testament of your commitment.
Yeah.
Right. So I know for the city of Schenectady and Mayor Gary McCarthy, like it's really important for them to have these annual things to gather the realtors, residents, tenants, landlords in one space so they can understand what the struggles and the things that are occurring right now are.
Yeah.
And some people don't necessarily notice that they're actually doing something that's perceived as being a violation of your fair housing or your civil rights.
Sure.
Right. So
yeah, and that's one of the things is, as real estate professionals, we have to discriminate, but what's important to do is not discriminate against protected classes. So what I mean specifically is, I have to discriminate among my opportunities. Like, I can't just go running and taking every opportunity, every person that calls me. So I have to discriminate when I'm representing a client and there's decisions to make in the transaction. Like, we have to discriminate between this choice and that choice. But
see, I'd call that discernment.
Discernment.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that does sound healthier.
But no, that's just my point, right? So I think that's something that isn't said, is that actually we do. You can call it discernment or discriminate, but we have to. We kind of have to do that already. So it's important to be really mindful in our approach on, hey, make sure we're not doing that. Make sure we're giving people equal opportunities, and we're not treating people differently because they look different, because they talk different, because their family size is different. So just being aware of that issue and continuing to talk about it is important. And when I first got my real estate license, I was like, man, what are we doing here? Like, I'm not racist. This isn't a problem. Like, what are we talking about? But the thing is this issue presents itself in a more nuanced way where, like Long Island Divided is a documentary that we talked about where real estate agents were asking certain groups of people for pre-approval letters before taking them out to view homes and not other groups. So that's discrimination, on a protected class. You can't do that. You have to be you have to be mindful of those things. So it doesn't always show its face brazenly, although sometimes people are that way.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing to note is that you don't have to be racist to discriminate. And I think that's what a lot of people get hung up on, is they think that the fact that you're not racist means that you can't discriminate, and it's just not the case, right? So, like, for instance, one of the big ones that I learned about was income discrimination, right? So if you have a voucher or a Section 8 or something like that, and you're using that to pay for your rent, if I'm a landlord, in my mind, I may have a preconceived notion or some kind of implicit bias about where your money comes from and whether or not I want to rent to you, right?
Absolutely.
So that's actually a big one in the state of New York as well.
Yeah.
So they've been pushing that, the education around that a lot too. I didn't know that was a protected class. Like, you can't.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even if your ad on Craigslist or something includes something like, oh, no Section 8 tenants, you are in violation of the Fair Housing Act in New York State. So
Yeah, that's.
We get testers that call us and stuff like that. I'm sure Maurice gets several. I'm sure Sam does. Hey, I've got 3 kids, a dog, and I'm on Section 8, and they're looking for which one you want to call out as why you can't show it to them. And they're like, well, there we go. You're right. I think it comes around certain times a year, because certain times a year I'll get like 6 in a row. And I'm like, this doesn't pass the smell test, but you go through the same. Sam, I want to go back to what you said. I sift clients. I'm going to use sift, something a little different. And this is what I do. I get so many buyer clients, right? It's just too many. I don't have the time. No one has the time and energy to handle every single phone call with full attention. So if I miss the chance to call someone back and they never call me back, I'm not chasing, bro. Like, that's it. Like, for me, it's a job. I love this job. I do it as often as I can. I do it for my family and for theirs, right? But if I said, hey, I'll call you back in 10 minutes, and 6 months later you call and scream at me, I never called you back, man, I don't even know who you are. If this is the American dream, if this is your dream, if this is your goal, it's your number one thing you're going to do this year, not learn to speak Spanish or go to the Bahamas or whatever. Your goal is to buy a house, and I forget to call you back, or I missed, or I was going to, or whatever, but didn't. If you're not calling me back, your dream is pretty low on your totem pole. Right. So for me, that's the quickest and I don't, name doesn't matter, personality doesn't matter. If you can't call me back because I missed once, or I called you back and you went to voicemail and I left a voicemail and you never called me back, I'm out.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'll get 10 more this week that I also can't keep up with.
Oh, yeah.
And if I could, the market couldn't keep up with it. Imagine if you could sell 10 houses every day, there wouldn't be one left.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's definitely a ceiling. At some point you've got to start bringing in, tools and processes so you can, because
it sounds like leverage would be your best help there.
Leverage.
Because one of my best clients have come from the follow-up. I mean, everybody knows in this game, it's the follow-up is gold when it comes to staying on people over long term.
I'm the worst.
I try to be the best, but there's always hiccups. But like Sam was mentioning, systems and processes. I mean, speak to how you grown your team. I mean, I even spoke on Diorem. I knew Diorem before I knew you.
yeah.
And you run that team. So speak on how you grew that, how you were able to build that from the ground up.
That's a banging question, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it
we're
started.
We're gonna steal your answers. Whatever you answer, we're gonna steal your answer.
It started. Well, actually, so initially, I got my broker's license, and I kind of had it in my mind like, oh, this is going to be great because now I don't have to split any commissions with anyone. Man, I'm going to kick my feet up. This is going to be like an early retirement. I mean, literally, that's what I thought. And then I realized pretty quickly that when you work for yourself, you work harder than you've ever worked before because you're entirely accountable for your results. I just had my daughter at the time. And so that was sort of where things started. And so, yeah, I mean, I worked my ass off. And then there was an opportunity. So Diorem was with 518 5 Star Realty. He's with a few others before that, but when I kind of met him, that's where he was. They were sort of dissolving, and I said, hey, why don't you come on board? He did. We got him some training, kind of polished him up, and then he was like off to the races. And he sells a lot of houses, and so it's just really been like just a gradual growth process. Like I learned a lot. I learned a lot from having people on my team. Taking that leadership role, getting comfortable with myself as far as speaking in a group setting, and just taking those leadership steps within the team. And then, as far as systems and processes, I mean, I still have a ton of work to do in that space. So it's just continuing to grow and implement. I mean, one of the really important things for our team was, another one of these things that I thought everybody just kind of did to do it, which was like core values and mission statement. I thought those were always sort of just meaningless things. And then I got with a marketing consultant, and we kind of sat down and, had a little powwow and came up with some of these things that really mattered to me and the vision of, the company. And those things really started. Those are the things that now we kind of fall back on. So the mission is to empower our community with the knowledge and expertise to make informed and intelligent real estate decisions. And then our core values, oh my God, I'm on the spot, I'm going to forget this. Our brand promise is to provide capital, region, buyers, and sellers with personalized, dependable, and respectful representation. Those 3 things that essentially equate to trust. So, that's what matters to me most. That's what we try to focus on the most. And so just aligning with our values, trusting that if we do the right thing, that the success and the business will come and it'll attract the right people to us. And then just, working my ass off. So I do that too.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we're at. And I don't know if that really, maybe that touches a little bit on the systems and processes question, but we have monthly meetings, so, and then we have ways to keep ourselves organized. We use CRMs and stuff like that. But for sure, we don't answer every call. Like, don't get it twisted.
Well,
Like
still human.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's plenty of room for improvement. But yeah.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, I think
No,
I'm sorry.
No,
But,
keep going.
it sounds like it really comes down to how you treat your team. Seems to be the thing that I've noticed the most.
Oh, thanks.
You treat them as people who all have goals, and you're respectful of those goals.
Sure.
So I know a lot of them have gone through different unique trainings for themselves in order to grow in the industry as well. And I think it kind of like instills that same principle in them that they then start to instill in their buyers as well.
Sure.
So just having that vision and the values when they're actually meaningful to you,
Right.
I think is absorbed by whoever you're dealing with a lot
Yeah.
of times too.
Yeah, I try to get across them like, don't be fake. If you don't have an answer to a question, don't make it up. I say, I don't know, but I will get you the answer to that question, right? There's ways to navigate things when you're just starting that you don't have to be disingenuous. You don't have to try to fool anyone. You can just be yourself and, be successful. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, half the time your personality is what sells it as a realtor.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's like
there you
I've dealt with some realtors and I'm just like, oh, your personality sucks. I'm like, yeah.
We deal
know
with that
those-
all the time.
Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah. And then the moment that you like do something
Yeah.
that someone doesn't like and your personality sucks, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with you at all. Like you don't even know what you're talking about. Mind you, it could have been something like, oh, it's not going to be nice outside tomorrow, so wear a jacket when we go visit this house. But because they already didn't like your personality, and then you told them the wrong weather
Now you're
forecast,
telling them what to do.
now they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, this guy, he doesn't know anything in the world. I'm like, that had nothing to do with that. But yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personality plays a huge part.
I have gotten deals because I'm me, and I'm sure I've lost deals because I'm me. Right? I'm never
That's
purposely a jerk, but it happens sometimes. You can only throw so much shade or somebody or call them out on something that's inaccurate. But I know we're right around time, guys. Sam, can we have you back sometime?
Oh, hell yeah. I'd be absolutely into it. Oh, heck yeah. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Are we, is this a no cuss?
And guys, we're looking for a sponsor for some sort of energy drink or coffee or something. So stay tuned. We'll see how we do.
All right. Well, definitely, we need to have you back again.
Absolutely.
Great. This was a really fun, warm talk.
Yeah.
Guys. I really enjoyed it. And it's good to know more history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I'd be happy
And
to
more
come
about
back.
you, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, guys.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
You want to do an outro? Or
No.
Let's rock on until next time, guys. And we'll follow up with where we follow up.
Thank you, Sam, for coming out. And looking forward to seeing you again. And
Likewise.
keep seeing your signs all over Schenectady.
And hopefully
Slow
more
down
and
a
more.
little bit. Slow down. We're trying to come on. We're trying to keep up with you. No, but it was a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.